So, Bill, the rock fight, I think a lot of us imagined it would be in Norman for this game, but it ended up with Mizzou having touchdowns. And so that's not going to win you many football games. I just wonder your thoughts on how it kind of played out and whether it was to your expectations here.
Yeah, I mean, you create more scoring opportunities than your opponent. You expect to, you hope to win or maybe lose by a little. Obviously, losing by double digits in that case is pretty extreme. But, I mean, Missouri, the defense plays well for 55 minutes. The offense has a good script, comes out early, has a chance to score some points, but can't quite get it done. You kind of know, but mid-second quarter, like, okay, I think I've seen this episode. I think I know how this is going to play out, and then it plays out that way. So, this is the point of the year where I start to kind of look back at, like, what were we saying in August? I like kind of the perspective angle of things. And, in August, we were talking about Horn versus Purpula. Don't have one for the entire year, don't have another for 2 games, and then he has to rush back to play against one of the most aggressive defense in the country in Norman within a month of a dislocated ankle. We talked a lot. I remember saying a lot, like, nobody's entitled to win in all their close games. Sometimes if you don't have the right close game combination, you're going to lose those. Missouri won 10-1 the last 2 years in 1-score games. They're 1-2 this year. You can kind of count Saturday as like an honorary close game because it should have been a 1-score game. So in the end, and I'm pretty sure I said about 8 wins at the end of the discussion as well. So, I mean, in theory, this has gone about as expected. Missouri's 20th in my SP Plus rankings. They've lost to the 4 teams above them. They've beaten everybody below them. It's been kind of, it's just when you live it, it's never just like we're always the 20th best team in the country. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have higher hopes at some point. And then when those hopes come back down to where you originally had them, it kind of feels like a disappointment.
And maybe we'll get into whether they can achieve that 8th win coming up on Saturday in the Battle Line rivalry. But I want to ask you first, just how good of a defense has Mizzou squandered by not having an offense this season? Because it really seems like they have shown up in some of these big games recently.
Well, early in the year, the offense was kind of covering for the defense a little bit. Lots of big play issues against Kansas, a little bit of a big play issue in some plays against South Carolina. But yeah, right around that UMass game, it felt like the identity, I guess, of the team kind of shifted a little bit. But I mean, still, you scored 24 points against Alabama. That's above average for playing Alabama. And you lose your quarterback in the 3rd quarter of the Vanderbilt game after a couple of really good scoring opportunities. So, I mean, it's been back and forth. Coaches, I'm sure, coaches would, they like to talk about complementary football and whatnot, which basically just means both units playing well at the same time, and special teams. And Missouri hasn't really had that all year. It's been one better than the other. But, again, like, they were projected 20th. They're 20th currently. They've beaten all the teams better, worse than them. And it hasn't been, considering where expectations were in August, I'd say this is about right.
Bill Connelly of ESPN here on the big show, KTGR, and the KTGR app. I mean, and surely the expectation is to just go and take care of business against an Arkansas team like that. There could be a lot of noise that swirls around this game. It means more about what the future of Mizzou is past this game, which is largely kind of meaningless for both seasons. But just, I'm sure we expect a lot of points in these types of games, considering the games that Arkansas has played. I wonder, do we see a Mizzou offense that looks better than maybe we've seen in past games just because they're going up against Arkansas and their defense?
Well, I mean, you do kind of wonder if Arkansas can they haven't stopped the run all year. They haven't stopped anything all year. They managed to give up 38 points to Mississippi State. They managed to give up 32 to Memphis. It's been a track meet. But the thing is, they are 15th in my offensive SP Plus rankings. They can score. They will absolutely score some points, and you have to keep up. You cannot squander opportunities or get loose with the football and give them an opportunity to get ahead of you, because they might not ever stop scoring if they're ahead of you. So it is a worry. I figured they were due for a big upset at some point this year. And so now you look at the schedule and realize how close they've come, but they haven't actually gotten one. It does concern you a little bit, but I think, this is, Missouri is between bowl. It's like, I don't remember how old I am because I'm between 40 and 50. I won't remember again until I'm 50. Missouri's past bowl eligibility. They're not going to get 10 wins. They're going to end up in the middle. And this game's we're going to end up talking about the future, basically, the moment this game ends.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see what happens there. Now, I mean, this this past weekend was a lot of results that I think most everybody expected. And so I'm more interested in what you think about this upcoming weekend and what it could be. Of course, it's always important when, shifting records and things like that, standings, who's in the conference championship games in the end and the CFP and everything like that. But man, everything surrounding the Egg Bowl is going to be fascinating for the game on the field. Aside from everything else, does Mississippi State have a chance here, or do we still think Ole Miss is too much to handle?
Yeah, I mean, they're much, much better than Mississippi State, but if there's any capability of being distracted, Ole Miss could be distracted. And this is a nonsense rivalry anyway. Very, very silly things happen. So, yeah, I mean, absolutely, I'm on guard if I'm an Ole Miss fan. I do like that this game is early on Friday, so we can just get it out of the way and get on to, Kiffin announcing he's going to do whatever he's going to do. But this is, you look at the schedule, what is it, like 9 of the top, like if you ignoring the top 3 teams, something like 9 of the 11 teams between 4th and 14th, probably in the college football playoff rankings are on the road. They're not all going to win. The odds are firmly against them all winning. And so it really is kind of a, we don't know who can survive a loss and stay in the field. There's a lot of teams that, like Vanderbilt, could go 10-2 in the SEC and miss out. It's a very, very clogged set of at-large bids, and somebody's going to lose. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
And you mentioned Friday. There's a good slate Friday. We've got Georgia Tech. You've got obviously the game that Texas. I guess my question is, where does Texas stand in your view in all this? Obviously, we don't have the newest CFP rankings out just yet, but they've got an opportunity to at least impress in their final game, hosting Texas A&M, which remains unbeaten. Kind of how do you see that one playing out and what it could mean?
Yeah, I bet they're going to be about 16th, maybe 15th if they help Michigan. I don't know why they would, though. Michigan looked good on Saturday. So, I think the bottom line is they had the capability of hopping a couple teams just with a win over Texas A&M, but it would help them a lot if Miami loses again, which is absolutely possible. Vanderbilt losing to Tennessee would be very helpful for them. So it does seem like they're going to need some help. And it is funny. I mean, for weeks, it was easy to look at Texas versus A&M and Michigan versus Ohio State as kind of like, hey, if the underdog can win out, they can be a win and end situation. And it really doesn't seem like that, because last week, like you said, nobody lost. Everybody kind of held on to their spots, and that could make for it's I don't know what chaos is here, if it's just a bunch of these teams losing or if it's that they all win and the committee has absolutely no idea how to rank like number 9 through 14. But it'll be interesting.
Bill Connelly of ESPN here on the Big Show, KTGR, and the KTGR app. Do you think we could see some craziness in the Iron Bowl at all? I mean, Alabama, obviously coming off, they had a nobody opponent this weekend, but the most recent meaningful game they had, Oklahoma handled them pretty well in their place. How do you kind of see them picking themselves up against the defense that will not let you do a whole lot? It can frustrate you a lot at the time.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously Alabama's very good, but they've actually, looking at my projections, they've underachieved on average for the last 4 games. They haven't really been dominant. Aside from like a good stretch against Tennessee, they haven't really dominated at all this year, except for, Eastern Illinois and Louisiana Monroe. So they are just a very good team, and Auburn's kind of like Arkansas in reverse, in that they're capable of upsetting somebody if they just get a couple of breaks and just get a little bit of offense. So don't know that they're going to get a little bit of offense, and they might have played out all their upset hopes in losing that track meet to Vanderbilt. But it's only like a 6-point projection with SP Plus, and I think the line's pretty close to that too. So those are always possible upsets.
How about the game in Tennessee with the Vols obviously not wanting to concede anything to Vanderbilt? As you mentioned, Vanderbilt could win this game and maybe not get the help that they need, but certainly a lot of pride on the line, I would think, to be able to finish strong and, at least have that argument that, the committee screwed us. That's the only reason we didn't win the national championship that Diego Pavia predicted.
Yeah, I mean, that's, before the Vandy-Kentucky game, I was pretty convinced like this is going to be, Tennessee's going to win. Vandy just doesn't have the defense. Defense fell apart against Texas and Auburn. And it just really seemed like that side of the ball was kind of letting go of the rope, so to speak, kind of like Georgia Tech had been, except Georgia Tech kept playing terrible defense this last weekend, and Vandy dominated a Kentucky team that had been really, really solid in recent weeks. So that was, if you're a Vandy fan, you're really, really encouraged by that. I think it does come down to the simple simple fact that Tennessee's offense is really good, and I still don't quite trust Vandy on that side of the ball. But this has track meet written all over it, and Vanderbilt's more than comfortable in those situations. So I think from a projection standpoint, this is almost directly 50-50, maybe slight lean to Tennessee, but it's going to be. I'm excited about this one.
Bill Connelly of ESPN here on the Big Show KTGR. Bill, this has been a huge talking point. I mean, not just this past week, but for maybe a few weeks. The Notre Dame versus Miami stuff. I mean, it seems that everybody needs to be on a side, and rightfully so, I guess. But just how do you see that, like, as both teams get another data point this weekend, Miami may be the better chance to impress considering their opponent because they get Pitt, and Pitt has looked like a really good team this year. Just do they get any closer to that conversation with a win, or is this just kind of crazy talk?
Well, first of all, it's a sign that things are going pretty well. This is the biggest controversy we can gin up. Like, that's a really good sign in and of itself. But I mean, how much weight is head to head supposed to carry? We played 11 games. We get 12, or some get 13, and we're supposed to decide who's the rank order of all these teams, and we're supposed to count one game as like half of the ranking. Miami was a better team in week 1. They're probably a better team in weeks 2 and 3, and Notre Dame's been a better team since. Just definitively better. They have blown out just about every single team they've had. Miami had 2 chances with their million dollar quarterback to go play for the win at the end of the SMU and Louisville games, and decided to play for overtime both times. Lost one before overtime and lost the other in overtime. And so I'm not going to even slightly feel sorry for them. Their second best win is probably USF. Notre Dame is so far ahead to me in the pecking order that head to head shouldn't play a role here at all. I'm all good. Like, if you're right next to each other, fine. The head to head winner gets the higher spot, but they're not. And I don't think they will be unless a few other teams lose. And if a few other teams lose, they're both safe anyway. So what does it matter?
And that's kind of what Hunter Yurachek said, but people did not like hearing that, I guess, was really the way that it boiled down.
Yeah, the committee chairman having to speak is always the biggest problem in a given week, because all he's doing is reciting stuff he's heard in the room. But when he says it, we take it as gospel. Here's why the committee did this. And it's an impossible job. And we would save a lot of stress if we just got rid of that part of it.
I would be much appreciative of that. Bill Connelly of ESPN here on the Big Show KTGR. I mean, at this point, I kind of see it as, okay, Miami, fine. I almost like root for the chaos to happen for them to actually make the ACC championship. I'm like, okay, go ahead and get the auto bid, whatever it might be. I don't know what all has to happen for that to take place, because I think technically the ACC still has 5-ish teams that could make it.
Right. I don't think Miami's like 4th or 5th in line for that auto. Right. That's going to be tricky.
And you say teams that could make it. That doesn't guarantee that any of those teams are in the playoff.
No.
With the way that the bottom of the rankings is that a realistic scenario in your mind, Bill, of the ACC champion potentially being left out, or is that something that we won't find out until like tomorrow when we see what the rankings update is? I'm
guessing we find Pitt and SMU like 24th and 25th this week, which kind of puts an end to it. I think James Madison would beat Pitt. The SMU's a lot better now than they were a few weeks ago, so maybe I'd lean SMU in that one. But as James Madison's been the better team, I think, top to bottom from the start of the year. JMU's good, and they are getting kind of screwed by the committee, I think. So, if that's the worst controversy, so be it. But I would absolutely be taking the idea of putting in JMU over the ACC champion. If it's like Virginia isn't great, SMU's not great, but getting better. Pitt's not great. They're all over the map. Like this conference has one awesome team, and it's lost to 2 ACC teams, and that alone should be an elimination if we're being honest. So yeah, it's a mess.
It's a beautiful mess, and that's what college football is. That's why we love it. So we'll be looking forward to it Thanksgiving weekend with Bill Connelly of ESPN. Follow him on Twitter at ESPN_BillC. See his great coverage of all things college football over at ESPN.com. Thanks for coming on, Bill. We'll chat very soon. Happy Thanksgiving to you. We'll see you.
Sounds good. You too.